I'm Deion Imade, and this week on the Old Poke Show, Clint and I talk about the Cincinnati Bearcat win, and we bring on three Bedlam legends to talk about the upcoming game against the Sooners and much more here on the Old Poke Show. Welcome to the Old Poke Show. This is the show where we talk to Cowboy legends from the past and the present and review the OSU program going into the future. My name is Deion Imade. I'll be your host alongside my man himself, Clint Chelf, number 10. How's it going, baby?
Man, it's going well. It's just so much more fun to get on here after a win, man. I can't even, it's just, and especially one like that, putting a game together and just blowing somebody out. It was like not stressful at all. You know, it was just like, man, this is nice.
The first half was a little iffy though. The first half.
I'm not talking about and that made it even better the second half, right? And we can get into that, but it was a great weekend. I feel like we've got a great show for you guys today. Some special guests later on that I'm really excited about. So yes. Man, I'm on cloud nine. I'm excited going into Bedlam. Good weekend. Ready to get this week started. How are you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good about the win. I'm feeling very good about the win. I think a lot of it had to do with how we started the day off and watching that team from the other side of the state kind of, take a little L, and then going into our game. And I'm not going to lie, the first half, I mean,
they had us in the first half.
I don't know if they had us. I don't they had us in the first half, I don't know if they had us there, but we were letting them stick around. We were definitely letting them stick around for the most part. And I thought it kind of gave me that Baylor vibe of us back in 2013 when College Game Day was here. It was cold, and you just got the feel from Cincinnati that they did not really want to be out there. They didn't really want to be. And then they got that long touchdown run, and then they were in it. And then I guess the halftime speech of all halftime speeches took place, and Coach Gundy got them boys ready and talked about being physical. And were they ever in the second half, Clint? My goodness, they was doing some thumping out there. They was doing some thumping.
Yeah, we knew, like, just the way that Cincinnati had played people. It was such an odd team. I mean, they could run the ball. They'd outgained opponents, as we talked about last week. Yeah. If you looked at stats, you would have thought they'd won more games, but they just would find a way to lose. And so when it was close like that at half, to your point, it's like, man, you don't want to let a team like this hang around. And the one thing, I mean, the first thing I wrote down was for defense was Nardo's second half adjustments, man. I mean, we have seen a few weeks now. And if you take out that last touchdown with 4 minutes left, 5 minutes left, whatever it is, when the game was out of, I mean, effectively held them to 0 points in the second half, right? So, yeah. I mean, I can't say enough about the second half adjustments. That's something that I've said that we saw back with Knowles and that Malcolm Rodriguez team. So, hats off to those guys and that speech at second half or at halftime, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, I was going into this game, like you talked about, I was a little unsure about our situation because matching up wise, Cincinnati matched up against us really well. They could stop the run, and they had a secondary that was, being Scott Springer came on, the beat writer from the Cincinnati Enquirer, and shout out to him. I actually got to see him at the game, shake his hand, and thank him for coming on to the podcast. So, the show. So he great guest, and really appreciate him, meeting him and everything in person. And he talked about how this secondary for Cincinnati was the weak part of this defense, and people had been picking on them. But us knowing the situation, knowing the
injuries.
Yeah, we were aware of it early, and knowing that situation, knowing when he was saying that, I was like, dang it, they got a secondary and we don't have a lot of our guys. Mm-hmm. And then here comes Big Leon. Dave Hunziker started calling him Big Leon, and I was like, bro, I like that. And Big Leon came through and saved the day. So I'm a little disappointed and it's unfortunate that he has to burn his red shirt, and he hasn't burned it technically yet, but it seems like it's trending in that direction. So number 17 will, unfortunately only get to play like half the season with meaningful minutes, and he's a senior, he's a graduate transfer, so they were trying to redshirt him and play him next year, and you could see his talent, his abilities. One more year in strength and conditioning year with Coach Glass, he would have been a monster, but he came up big against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where we just have to have him from here on out, and he made enough plays that I don't see a way that you could go away from him. I said I wrote down Nardo's second half adjustments for defense. The three things I wrote down for my offensive recap, because I know we're trying to keep it a little short because we've got some special guests for you guys, but Leon Johnson, Ollie Gordon, and the offensive line. And I think that tells the entire story really right there. I've got to give major props to this offensive line. I mean, this was a defensive line that we knew Dante Corleone was going to give people fits. And we rushed for, 300 yards. And those guys up front, the improvements they've made from week 1 to now, and I know there's been some shuffling. I just don't think that you can give them enough praise. And that's not specifically and only in the run game. In the pass game, they've given up 2 sacks in Big 12 play. I think one at Iowa State and one at maybe Kansas or against Kansas. But, I mean, when you have that kind of production from those guys up front, because that's where it starts, it makes your life so much easier. And it makes Alan Bowman's job so much easier. And obviously, Ollie Gordon has just been an absolute animal these past few weeks, running into possibly some Heisman conversations. So the run scheme has been great. The zone the zone runs versus gap scheme runs. They started mixing those up quite a bit. A lot of gap schemes, a lot of pulling guards, tackles, fullbacks, motions, stuff we've asked for weeks. So I mean, the offensive staff, Casey Dunn, Coach Dickey, hats off to everybody, because it felt like it really came together, especially in the running game with this offensive line.
Well, if you have 3 things, I'm going to go ahead and give my 3 things as well, so we can, move on to our guests rather quickly. Number 1, Nick Martin is a beast. Okay. Yeah. Again, another game with double-digit tackles, 12 tackles, I think 2 tackles for loss. When we talked about Coach Gundy telling that team this has to be the most physical second half that we've played all year, he was the one leading the charge, and he was hitting people, coming downhill, very aggressive. I mean, when you have a message like that, your leaders need to take it to heart and kind of lead the team in that direction, and he did that wholeheartedly, okay? The number 2 thing, and it might be an unpopular opinion, especially the way Ollie Gordon is going right now, but number 24, Elijah Collins, needs to touch the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, that run was nice.
It was nice. I know it was like at the end of the game, and things were kind of already handled, but with his running style, it's more similar to Ollie Gordon's than Nixon is, unfortunately. And I think his vision will allow him to, have some success in this gap scheme as well. And we still have a lot of football left to play. And, 29, 30, 25 touches is going to be a lot on OG. So unfortunately, like, as much as we want to see Zero touch the ball, number 24 is going to have to continue getting some snaps and continue to get some touches, because I like the way he runs the ball as well. And the last thing, and then this thing is going to be something that not a lot of people are going to be talking about. Number 94, Goodlow, love his motor.
I got him written down. That was one of my 3 things on defense. I'm not kidding you. I've got Nardo, Xavier Benson, and Anthony Goodlow.
Bro,
that's what I got written down.
Goodlow's motor, like literally there was a play where it was like a tunnel screen or something. It was like 18 yards down the field, and number 94 comes out of nowhere chasing it down. I was like, whoa. And not once, but he did that like twice or 3 times. Like, his motor, his ability to run the football, what he's doing on that field, it is inspiring. And I love to see that.
Man, I'm so glad you said that, because I had him written down for that exact same play. There was 2 that I remember, but the one, his hustle down the field, and that stopped. I mean, it's not like he was down there and it was like, oh, they got him tackled and he piled on. No, like, he had to make a play, catch a guy, run him down and tackle him. And then I wrote down Xavier Benson. I don't know what his grade's going to be what this, that, and the other, but I would relate him to the offensive line. He's a guy that typically I don't feel like gets any pub. It's all about Colin Oliver and Nick Martin and Kendall Davis, and rightfully so. But I feel like he's just a solid guy out there that makes plays. He's always in the right spot. He doesn't mess up, and I feel like we need to give him a shout out because he's been a steadying force. I feel like for this defense. So I'm glad you said Goodlow, but I wanted to give him a shout out as well. And that's those are the things that I had written down. So I'm glad we got to hit those.
Also, shout out to the defense continuing to get turnovers and making plays and getting off the field and, getting stops on fourth down. I mean, Cameron Epps, I'm starting to, truly, he needs to improve a lot. He's still young, and I still, am encouraged about what I see. He still needs to make improvements, but his ball skills are pretty impressive. That interception when he was bobbling it, I really enjoyed to see him come up with that one. A lot of people would just drop it or lose concentration. His ball skills are pretty impressive. And then Latu coming in and punching that ball out at the last minute with the quarterback running down the field. Very great. Love seeing turnovers. Hopefully that continues this going forward this week as well. Well, because Bedlam is up and close and personal now, we thought we'd go ahead and have a star-studded panel of Bedlam legends come to the show and talk to us about the last Bedlam and help me and Clint out a little bit. So we got some friends here. Always welcomed my man, Mr. Weeden, Justin Blackmon, and Rashaun Woods here to talk to us about Bedlam. Hey guys, how's it going?
How's it going?
Good.
I just want to say, I want to start off by saying we appreciate you guys taking your time out to join us. I know, Rashaun, I know you're prepping your high school team. I know you guys got a lot going on, so we appreciate it. And obviously, if you're wondering what you guys all have in common, it's that you all were Bedlam winners and obviously superstars in that aspect. So thank you guys very much. Deion, how do you want to start it with these guys? Because we got to get into plays, memories. We got to get into everything. So which way do you want to go first?
I mean, we might as well just throw it up there and let everybody kind of talk about their favorite Bedlam memory as far as when they were playing and kind of go from that aspect. We'll start with you, Weeden. What was your favorite Bedlam memory?
2nd down and 4. Weeden kind of looks out there at him as Cooper comes in motion. They keep it on the ground, and this is going to be a touchdown. Jeremy Smith. Boy, everybody up close for the Cowboys. They're going to bring that many. They are. Jones running for his life. That's a ball is out, and it's scooped up by Blacknick, and he might go. Blacknick down the sideline. Still on his feet inside the 5. Landry Jones fanned one, lost the handle. Oklahoma State. If it's not a pass, it's a touchdown. Rachetti Jones. And it looks like it indeed is another Cowboy score. We asked Raymond Weeden yesterday, what was the game? And I said, I understand that question's tied together. He said, for me personally, beating Oklahoma. For the program and Oklahoma State, it's getting to a BCS game and winning a conference crown. So while they're tied together, it meant more to him to beat the guys in the crimson and white. And here's Smith breaking free again and scoring again. Touchdown. You're number 1 in the Big 12, Spider-Man. Tell you that much. Champions of the Big 12 for the first time. And Bedlam about to become mayhem.
Man, I mean, obviously that entire game of 2011 from start to finish was kind of it went exactly how we planned. I mean, from the first snap, our offensive line just dominated the line of scrimmage. We ran the football extremely well. Blackmon probably didn't get as many targets or catches that he wanted, but he, like me, knew that, we were toting the rock and those dudes were coming off the football. So, I'll tell you the biggest memory. I mean, there's so many, but I think the biggest memory is when Tracy Moore came over the sideline and told me the nickel, said basically, man, let's go, let's shut it down. We're ready to get out of here. And that was like in the 3rd quarter. I was like, hell yeah, let's keep going. I mean, that's one game I want to hang 100. I mean, that's one game. If we could have scored 100, I wouldn't have cared. But when those goalposts came down, You put the Big 12 championship hat on. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And that's kind of was our goal for the year, and we got it done.
Hold on, wait a minute. As a defensive player, I'm not familiar with this whole nickel phrase. What do you go a little bit in more detail about that?
So they had a slot corner that was basically playing the slot over Tracy, and we ran inside zone, and Tracy was kind of manhandling him, and basically said, "Come on, bro, get off me or whatever. We're just trying to get out of here," or something like that. And that was in the third quarter. Tracy can tell you the story a little better than me, but I just remember him coming over the sideline, telling the receivers and the quarterbacks. I'm sure you remember that, Clint.
I do.
And
yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool. This is what we wanted.
That was
right?
about the time that I started. I was like, man, I might be getting in here. Maybe this thing warmed up.
Yeah, that was. But that was, that's the way the whole night went. I mean, it was just, complete domination. We controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Defense played great, and I mean, from start to finish, it was a whooping.
Black, what was your favorite memory?
I mean, it's hard to beat that right there. Like you said, it was pure domination. We took them inside. We was running the ball. And in defense, offense, we dominated. So as far as playing, that was my biggest memory.
Yeah, I think, too, to back up, like, if you rewind to the year before, it was kind of the complete opposite, right? It was like a track meet. I mean, it was like whoever had the ball, it was like back and forth. They had tip balls, touchdowns. Just all kind of, I mean, it was like whoever had the ball last was going to win. In this game, we gave no doubt, right? And that's what felt good as a player. That's, obviously we were playing pissed off with what happened at Iowa State, but just two completely different games. And so for us to be on the good side of it always felt good.
Definitely felt good. Rashaun, I'm sure you have a little bit of different memory from us. So what was your favorite?
Fields under center, the true freshman, marking out the signals, drops back to pass, pumps, throws it toward the far corner of the end zone, and the pass is caught! Pistols firing! Touchdown, Cowboys! You talk about a great adjustment made by Rashaun Woods. The ball was up for grabs. He went back, posted the man up, turned around, and went up for a rebound and pulled it down, kept his feet in bounds. Rashaun Woods with the biggest catch of all those he's made this year. Cowboys lead 15-13. What a play by Josh Fields and Rashaun Woods.
Yeah, so my sophomore year, 2001, going there and knowing that, Oklahoma State hadn't won a game, or anybody for that matter had won a game at Owensville or at their home, and to have an opportunity to play. The seniors made a choice that, hey, we're going to go out. This is our last game. We're going to give it everything we got, and kept chipping away. The game ended up being a lot closer than just about everybody out there thought, and they allowed us to hang around. Defense played really well that day, kept us in the game, and we started to get things going, both passing and running on the offensive side. And before you know it, a couple of field goals away, you got the possession, 3 minutes left in the game, and you got a chance to go down and take the lead. Was something I'll never forget. Driving down and making those third down plays and having an opportunity to really catch that football at the end, which was given by the other guys making sure that they make plays. T.D. Bryant's catch down the middle on 3rd and 19 or something like that. Well, maybe even 4th down. I mean, it gets cloudy right now as far as trying to remember the details, but the catch is something that I won't ever forget. They knew it was coming. Coach was literally screaming it from the sideline, and we were able to get it done. It was a perfect throw. Went up and got the football, and really for us, it wasn't a situation of domination. It was a situation of establishment, that we were going in the right direction, and that we could play some football down in Stillwater as well.
That's kind of the cool part that I thought about, when we got all you guys on, was that, just the contrast between the games that you all start in. I mean, obviously your memory in that moment in that corner of the end zone is such an awesome memory. And then for Brandon and JB, it's like, I mean, what do you pick out? It was just domination all night. One thing that, is talked about a lot, especially Coach Gundy talked about it a little bit, is preparation for a game, specifically this game, compared to the other games, I saw where OU is trotting out their 5 captains are all Oklahoma-born players. Trace Ford's one of them. Obviously, you guys were all, born in Oklahoma, raised in Oklahoma. Rashaun, like what is that, I guess, preparation? Did you prepare any differently for OU, or was this just another game for you?
I wouldn't say there was anything different in preparation, but you were definitely tuned in to making sure you're doing everything you could to be prepared for the game, right? The preparation and the times that you had to do certain periods and certain plays, it was the same. It wasn't anything different. You just tried to make sure that you did those things at the highest level possible so that you wouldn't let your team down. And you knew how big the game was. I think the media really blows that deal up, and because they talk about it so much, and being from Oklahoma, you hear about it every single year, and then to actually live it, you just don't want to be the guy that does something or is not prepared to be there in the moment. And so I think for me personally, I knew that I was going to need to make plays, and I just need to make sure from a personal standpoint that I did everything I could to be prepared. And when my number was called, be able to come through for the team and come through and make that play. And so from that standpoint, it wasn't any different, but you definitely have a clearer focus. There's a lot of stuff that goes on when you're a kid, but your focus can kind of go in and out, although you're still doing the same things every day. And my focus that week, though, from Sunday, it was an elite level focus because of the importance that I knew that I had as a player, just like probably everybody else in their job that they had to do.
That's probably the best point that you could make about it, is that your preparation doesn't really change, but your focus kind of locks in a little bit more, a little bit earlier in the week. JB, is that the same for you? I probably know that your prep. I remember it didn't really. You prepped the same way, kind of every game.
Man, I don't know if it was just our time when we were there, but it was always the OU DBs flat-footed. If you just keep running straight, you could get past them at some point. So we always try to just go in there and be ready to go. Like you said, it's just another game, but at the end of the day, it's almost like bragging rights at the end of the game. So you kind of want to have that OU. We beat OU, we own Oklahoma. Like kind of trophy, even though it's really not a trophy. We just so you just want to have them bragging rights, talking rights. I'm from a place where it's nothing but OU people. So where I'm at, OU flags everywhere. So to get that win, I have my flag hanging out of the house all the time every Saturday, my Oklahoma State flag, and make the kids change their shirts if they walk in with OU on Saturday. I don't even play that over
here. Yeah, I saw. I don't know if you guys saw this, how active you guys are on Twitter, but Coach Gundy made some waves, I guess, among OU fans on Twitter today. He made a comment about, he's like, 45% of Oklahoma wears orange, 45% wears red, and 10% wears, blue and gold for Tulsa. And all the replies, as you guys can imagine, we're all OU fans. Like, this guy doesn't know math. He doesn't know anything. So, Brandon, what kind of changed, if anything, for your preparation for Bedlam?
I always felt like I was always prepared going into every week, but I said this earlier to a buddy. I think I might have put an extra, 30 minutes, hour in on, maybe an extra tape. Like, how are these safeties playing their best player? Can I get any tails on, blitz wise? I knew they were going to be aggressive. They're an aggressive defense. I don't know if you remember, Clint, the year before 2010, they had our signals. So our senior year, we went to those wristbands. And so, just kind of going through those, understanding, those however many plays we had on there, those were our best plays. We felt good about it. Little things like that.
We had a little Jim Harbaugh situation going on, fellas.
Yeah, that's what made me think about it. That's exactly what made me think about it. So, and it's, I don't know. I was of the opinion, it's the last one of the year. Might as well put it all in. And living right here in the heart of Oklahoma City, there's plenty of crimson, but there's a lot of orange. So I want to be the guy that left no doubt and had a chance to be a guy, Josh had won it a couple of times. I wanted to be an OSU quarterback that got it done, and I had the bragging rights on my side. They can't talk a whole lot of crap.
Yeah, that's kind of like, Deion, you can get to the next question, but if I had a regret, it's the games that I actually started against OU. Both of them, we lost like right at the end. You know what I mean? And it's like the worst part about it is like they can't say anything to you guys. You know what I mean? It's like I got to take that for the rest of my life. You know, especially when I have like family, my mom's side of my family, like all my cousins on that side, they're all OU fans. So I got to listen to that BS for a while, man. It's tough. It's tough.
It's always tough. But speaking of family and JB, you mentioned it, talking about, you know, kids around the neighborhood, and Rashaun, you mentioned it a little bit as well. How did you get introduced to the whole Bedlam rivalry?
Yeah, you know, the media. When I was young, that game was on TV, right? It was Channel 25. You know, this is before YouTube TV, where you could, you know, watch the games and stuff. But you get a chance to see the games. You know, that one was always televised locally. It was talked about, and everybody was excited about it. People at my school was excited about it. The coaches were excited about it. It was a normal event for football in my household and at school and just about everywhere. And I can remember as a kid, Oklahoma wasn't very good. And so that game, you know, Bob Simmons and those guys at Oklahoma State way back in the day, you know, OU, Snellenberger and those guys. I mean, it was, well, I wouldn't say it was bad football, but it didn't necessarily matter whether it was bad or if it's good or if a team was up or down. That game, definitely everybody got up for. And so during that time, I was young. I was in high school, just not really understanding, you know, the game of football and understanding, you know, the rivalry in itself and getting really immersed in it. And so seeing those guys compete, seeing the excitement surrounding it was just something that I looked forward to as a kid.
Weeden, with you growing up in Edmond, I mean, what was your kind of first Bedlam memory, and how did you get introduced to it?
You know, I had to think about that. I did an interview today, and so we were playing. It was my senior year in high school. We're playing Jinx in Stillwater the night that Rashaun caught that touchdown to beat OU. Was it 12-9? I think was the final. I can't remember the final that night. But anyway, we're on the field, and I can hear Stillwater erupt. And I had just signed to play baseball there. I had my baseball hat on the sideline, OSU baseball hat. And that's when I thought, I was like, man, this is bigger than, you know, us playing Jinx. This is a big deal. You know, like that was my first inkling. Because I'll be honest, I mean, I watched football. I pay attention to it. But I was never the kid that just sat in front of the TV and watched every game. I mean, I was more of course, I didn't even play football until my junior year of high school. But, I was the kid that was outside playing or doing other stuff. I never really focused on what was going on. But my first memory was hearing Stillwater. I don't know if it was a fraternity, sororities, the buildings around the stadium, but I remember them just going nuts whenever the clock hit 0 and they got that win down there in Norman. That was I was like, okay, this is a big deal.
I don't know what's up with you, quarterback. Clint tells me that all the time, that he did not grow up like watching football and sitting in front of the TV and stuff like that. So
I never watched it.
We'll have to dig into that a little bit later. But JB, you growing up in Ardmore, I mean, what was your favorite, you know, first Bedlam memory?
So, like, if y'all don't know, I was born in California. So when we moved here, my family's from Texas. We're Texas fans. So anything against Oklahoma was a win for me. So all our friends would get together and watch the Bedlam game. And I'd be the only one cheering for Oklahoma State just because I don't want OU to win. So that's how I got into it, where I was just anything but OU. Anything but OU will work for me.
That's the same thing for me. Growing up in Dallas, being a Texas fan, and then any reason for OU to lose, I was for it, man. I was for it.
All right, so you guys, we talked a little bit. You guys have watched this team this year. Brandon, what's kind of your read on Deion? You may take them back to their playing days. I kind of want to get a little bit of what's your read on the game this year. Obviously, this is a team, Oklahoma State, that 4 weeks ago, I think we all thought, man, this season's going to be rough. And about that same time, OU beat Texas. They were trending up. We were trending down. Now the roles have largely flipped. So kind of what's your read from the outside and what you know about both teams? You know, what's it looking like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like from the outside looking in, it seems like Oklahoma State's kind of found their identity. I mean, obviously running the football, playing better defense, creating some turnovers here and there. But And I don't know if it's because they've simplified things. I don't know if they've kind of just gotten away from certain things that maybe they weren't good at, and they're self-scout on their bye week, whatever it may be. I just feel like they've found their identity and found out what they want to do. Obviously, you have a premier back in Ollie Gordon. Offensive line's playing well. You're healthier at that position. So I mean, from that standpoint, I think when you look at Oklahoma, like you said, they're trending backwards. I mean, they almost slipped up against UCF. Obviously, they slipped up last week in Kansas. They're beat up. Stutzman, if he's out, I don't know if he's going to play or not. They got some injuries at a lot of different places. So I think if we stay consistent, stay, and don't try to do too much, but don't get too nonchalant. We still got to be aggressive. I think this is a game you got to call plays. You got to go about it, playing to win, playing not, and not playing not to lose. So, but I think again, 34 weeks ago, I was.
Yeah.
My daughter was in the dirt.
I'm telling you what.
It was pretty hard to watch. There was a lot of beer drinking and walking away from the TV. But I think they're playing good football right now, and I think if they can continue to take care of the football and Ollie keeps doing what they're doing, I think they're gonna finish this year on a pretty good note.
Yeah, the schedule sets up pretty nicely. Rashaun, as a coach yourself, from both sides, what would you be telling each team if you're the team that's kind of trending down? I know you that just come off the loss. I would say some people would say they're backed into a corner. They're a wounded animal. That's when they're most dangerous. On the other side, OSU, who's kind of – I used the phrase on Twitter today. They got the rat poison this week that Saban used to talk about, right? They're hearing how good they are. So as a head coach yourself, like what would you say to both sides, I guess?
Yeah, the fact that Oklahoma lost to Kansas, it's just typically most people think that that's a really, really bad loss. And maybe it is because it's Kansas. But the reality of it is Kansas is really making a large push to be of relevance in the Big 12. And that's really a good thing for parity of the league. Oklahoma, they do a lot of things as far as getting the ball out quick, taking the RPO game and doing some good things. But, that deal has an expiration date, in my opinion. You can throw the ball out there, but if teams decided, hey, we're going to sit on you and we're going to make you do something other than that and play either run the football and live with it, or throw the football and live with it, then those things get kind of tough. And Oklahoma found that out. Some of those short passes, Kansas was able to jump on those things and make some plays, and there just wasn't any adjustments on the offensive side for the Sooners.
Well, don't you think? Let me. Since you're talking about that, I was thinking about this today after I watched some of the Kansas game. Those RPOs, they hurt the offensive line too. I feel like because you're thinking about you can't get too far downfield. You can't really fire off the ball with the same physicality if it was a true run versus a pass set. All that stuff adds up, right?
Yeah, well, the offensive line should be coached to just be blocked. Their responsibility should not be to worry about how far they get down the line. And so if you're throwing the ball as quick as Oklahoma is, that should never matter. It's actually the second level RPOs that really matter when you're trying to hit the post, rattle the glance, and doing those things on the second level. But they're trying to do a lot of those first level RPOs, which, defenses can sit on those. And so there's a lot of reads involved. If the quarterback is off his game or he doesn't see the defensive back sitting, then those plays can get jumped if you get an idea that they're coming. And so that's what, I kind of observed when I watched their offense. And then defensively, when OU's not having a success offensively and they're trying to go fast, that puts more pressure on the defense. The score doesn't indicate it, but there are a lot of possessions in that game. And OU over time is just going to wear down, and that's exactly what you saw. They wore down. Kansas was able to do some things and get some confidence. When you're home, that confidence builds, right? And so you get in that situation, Kansas starts rolling. Before you know it, it's a close game. Before you know it, you're down, and Kansas ends up getting that win. But you got to have it when you talk about identity. An RPO helps you to be who you are, but it's not the main thing, if that makes any sense. So, like, if you're running the football, the RPO protects that. Okay, but if you don't run the football well, then the RPO loses its effectiveness. And that's just kind of where you are. That's where Oklahoma is or was in that game. Whereas Oklahoma State, everything seems to work because they're running the football at a high level, right? And so typically when you run the ball at a high level, your passing game is going to be better because guys are going to add an extra guy into the box. And so that's what you're seeing. They got to bring another guy up there to stop Gordon because the second level guys can't tackle a guy. He's a big guy running through. He breaks through the second level. The defensive backs can't get the guy down. And that ends up being a problem. They bring the extra guy in there. It makes throwing the football a lot easier. It makes play calling a lot easier. And so that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a guy who's just, a big-time player. And if it was a big-time player like Weeden and you guys throwing the football on the outside, you think about it was the exact opposite. You guys could really hurt people down the field to where they had to commit another guy to coverage, right? And now when you hand the football off, there's nobody there. They got soft box everywhere. And so when you can run the football, it makes everything else better. And Oklahoma State is a beneficiary of that because, again, when they weren't running the football, you didn't know what quarterback was going to play, right? In all honesty, as good as they're playing at the quarterback position right now, I really believe that just about any of those guys can hold up when they're running the football like that. Any of those guys can have better success when they were doing the quarterback rotation if they run the ball at a higher level earlier in their season.
Yeah, I think that speaks to more about the changes to the offensive line. Dalton Cooper finally settling at left tackles, kind of when they started taking off. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I could go out there right now and hand it to Ollie Gordon, and we'd probably be a pretty good offense. JB, you didn't see too many single coverages, except for probably early in your career. What's your read on this Bedlam game? What do you think you need to see for OSU to win, and what do you think OU is going to be like coming off a loss?
Man, I just think, especially watching this year, we just got to execute the plays, man, make plays. No drop balls, no missed tackles, no broken tackles on defense, because I feel like these last couple of weeks it's kind of been more consistent on both sides of the ball where, there's not so many missed tackles. There's not so many busted plays where somebody's just running down the field wide open. And like you said, we can run the ball. It opens up things on the out, makes things easier for the receivers so they can make a play downfield. So I think just consistency in making plays. I mean, just go out there and do your job.
I could not agree more, Black, man. It just seems like the mistakes are getting less and less as the season goes on, and that's really helped this whole win streak going. But one of the things that I really want to, pick up and talk about has kind of been a hot topic issue the last couple of years, knowing that OU was going to the SEC, is Bedlam's coming to an end, and this is the last one. So how do you guys feel about this being the last Bedlam? I know Coach Gundy talked about, they're probably going to play again. It's probably going to be a bowl game situation where that, kind of takes place. But for it being the last regular season Bedlam, how do you guys feel about that? We'll start with you.
Yeah, and I'm more of a traditionalist, kind of an old school. I'm big on the rivalries. I'm big on, a tradition. And growing up right in the heart of it, even though I didn't really follow it as closely back then, I'm just, I think it kind of sucks. I'll be honest. It's one game that you always circle as a player, as a fan. You always circle as a Oklahoma State fan. You want to win that one. You can go whatever 7-3, 7-4, but as long as you beat OU, you feel like it's a pretty good year. It's been a really good rivalry, especially the last 15, 20 years. It's really become a pretty good rivalry. I know they've got Texas. They've got a separate rivalry that they think is a little bit bigger in the whole deal. But I hate to see it go away. I really do. I understand the business side of it. Obviously, with college football headed where it's headed and the money, and they're going to a conference that's pretty deep, from start to finish. So they would have a lot to lose. They had to play us early, and vice versa. Nowadays you almost got to win them all to get there. So, I understand the business side of it, but from a fan and a former player, I'm gonna miss that late game. Whether it's in Norman or up in Stillwater, it's just such a good rivalry that. Who knows? 10, 20 years down the road, it may come back, but I don't see it. I don't see it coming back for anytime soon.
Rashaun, how do you feel about it? I mean, do you understand the business aspect of it, or are you kind of indifferent?
Yeah, I've actually followed it pretty closely. Unfortunately, just personally, I enjoyed watching the game. I enjoyed playing in it. I think it's important for Oklahoma fans in general. It's something that drives a lot of excitement just in the state of Oklahoma as a whole. But on the business side of it, Oklahoma's making the move. Texas is making the move. I think on the business side of it, it actually benefits Oklahoma State staying in the Big 12. Getting Colorado to come to the Big 12 was the big token that they figured out, that the higher ups figured out that was needed to happen, and that happened. I just don't. I'm not being biased here. I just don't think that. I think from a money standpoint, Oklahoma probably made a good decision as far as the betterment from getting more money from TV contracts and whatever it is that motivated them to move. Right, they're going to get more money from that deal, and it's a business decision. But they got an opportunity to really, I think, not necessarily, or just be a team. I think moving over with Georgia and Alabama and those teams is just going to be extremely overwhelming. I kind of look at them and I kind of think Nebraska. It just screams Nebraska Cornhuskers to me. When Nebraska left the Big 12, they were dominant for so long, and now they're just a team. And if that happens to Oklahoma, I think the ramifications of that long term, although you make some money right now, are going to be detrimental to the history of the program. That's just an unbiased observation that I've made. Whereas Oklahoma State, they're in a new league, and they have a chance to have somewhat of a resurgence to power. They're doing really well right now. They're having some success, and I really think that if they hit their stride early on and can get a hold of the Big 12, can be put themselves in a position that they've never been in it before. They have an opportunity to possibly dominate the league, be a consistent top 1, 2, or 3 finisher in the league, and really make a name for themselves that they would have probably never had if they stay in that league if Oklahoma, Texas stays in the Big 12. That's whether or not Texas is winning or losing. As long as Texas and Oklahoma are in the Big 12, if Texas loses and Oklahoma loses and Oklahoma State wins, they're going to say the Big 12 is weak, right? And now, with them not in there, if Oklahoma wins, who do they base how strong the Big 12 is on now? I say maybe in 3 or 4 years, they maybe base it on Oklahoma State, Colorado, possibly. Who do they set the bar? Yeah, right. And so who do they set the bar on now? Oklahoma State is now in that conversation because of this, and that, I believe, benefits Oklahoma State the best, right, from both teams. So I like to see it from that standpoint. Hopefully everything I say is going to happen, But, hey, you're talking about something that, could happen and take about 20 years to happen, right? We'll be old men talking about it, and maybe we come back and watch this recording and say, wow, Coach, you was right. 65, like, yeah, I was, So, but that's how long it takes for programs to build that kind of prestige, and so Oklahoma State could very well be in the beginning stages of a certain level of prestige that is recognizable throughout the whole college football arena, so to speak.
JB, let's get your input on the discussion. I mean, thoughts and opinions on this being the last Bedlam.
Man, get them up out here. Like you said, it's about time for somebody to run this place, and it's wide open for us to take it. We just got to go out there and get it. I ain't worried about OU. Don't think about them.
One thing that this team has not been great at, I think, is fade balls, and whether it's a jump ball in the end zone. Justin, what would be your teaching tape? What would be something that these guys could I guess use to get better at that? Because whether it's a 5-yard run in the end zone, whether it's that's something that they haven't connected on for whatever reason.
So you were there when Dana showed up and had y'all throwing the fade balls into the trash cans, stuff like that. It was timing and consistency. So I think they just don't practice it like how y'all were practicing, having to throw in the bucket every day. The ball's going to the same spot every time. The timing's there. I know how much time I get to use at the line to get to the ball. I know, so I think it's just consistency and really working on it. I mean, Dana didn't hold back on, we throwing these balls in the bucket every day. It didn't matter if y'all was doing good at it, whatever. Even when we were scoring them, everything was getting caught. Y'all was still showing back up, throwing them in the bucket. So
yeah,
I think
that's right. We were
practice and consistency.
We were doing that a lot. Rashaun, what's your advice for as a guy who caught a lot of fade balls and now it's a coach? Have you seen the same thing, I guess, that I have seen with this team?
Yeah, the last couple of years has been a little bit puzzling as to why the receiving room or haven't made as many plays or have made plays down the field. Obviously not being there, you don't know. You only can speculate. But the injuries are probably a big part of that. Guys haven't have a chance to be pretty consistent. And I've actually had a chance to talk to Coach Dunn a couple of times just about the room and how he feels about his guys, and he feels great about them. I mean, he thinks the guys can really play, but again, if you're in a situation where you can't stay healthy, that can really, really, really hurt your chances to make plays down the field. And I think that's something that they're really missing right there. If they have that right now, man. They're looking pretty good, although they're looking pretty good right now. But eventually, let's just be honest. Oklahoma's going to be ready to stop the run. Somebody on the outside is going to have to make plays this week. And so if Oklahoma can't figure that deal out, then they deserve to lose a game. But I expect to have 8-9 guys in the box to stop Ollie Gordon. And if they can't make a play down the field, then all the excitement that's building up, moving forward, we will kind of, go by the wayside, because you've got to have that. And yeah, it needs to be taught. It is a taught gift. You can have great ball skills all you want, but the coaching staff did a great job with me, just like he did with just about everybody else that came through that can make good plays. And, I had a really good receiver coach. I had some talent, but, the coaches really helped me to make sure, hey, I did what I needed to do at a high level. And so, they've got the same coaches or the coaches that are capable there. So it's not like it's a coaching issue. Coach Dunn and those guys are high quality guys. But again, if you're coaching guys that can't stay healthy for one reason or another, it just makes it tough, no matter how good of a coach you are or how good of a player you are.
Yeah, I think that consistency is a big part of it. And Leon Johnson, I thought, made some really good plays down the field this last game. I think Deshaun Stribling was going to be that guy, and then he got hurt early. Brandon, we were talking. I wanted to get their opinion and get yours on. We switched gears back a little bit to X's and O's and the game a little bit more. But one thing I've noticed with this team this year is that they have not been great at fade balls, whether it's in the end zone or the 22, 24-yard fade that we used to throw as a jump ball kind of on the sidelines versus a go ball. You have any input on why that would be, or anything that you could maybe elaborate on as far as how they could get better?
Yeah, I mean, Rashaun's right on. I mean, one, I think the consistency at each position, there's not a Justin Blackmon or a James Washington right now. I mean, they just don't have that dude. But, I mean, they've got guys that are more than capable to go down the field and make plays. To me, I mean, I don't know if that's kind of a timing thing. That's a rep thing. I mean, it's a feel thing. And, I don't know if they're just not maybe getting those types of reps in practice due to, again, being healthy, staying healthy, and those types of things. But those aren't just throws, those are easy on air, but when you get guys out there that are playing over the top, you got to throw a little more back shoulder or, just that touch, that feel to throw it kind of in the bucket, if you will. It's not easy. So, I'm speaking quarterback here. It feels like on a lot of the deep balls down the field, it feels like they tend to be a little bit more underthrown, which is not always bad, but it feels like he's kind of falling off his back foot just a little bit. And that ball is not, traveling the 42, 45 yards on a go ball, and so I don't know if I haven't studied it that closely, but it doesn't seem fundamentally like that Bowman is throwing the ball, those fade type throws. I guess like we did. I don't know. I'm not saying we were the best at it, but Rashaun, you were good. When Dez was there, like it's a feel thing. You gotta have a guy that you trust. You can, control his body and put it in a position where he can go make a play. And they'll get there. I mean, they got some good players out at the wide receiver position. I think it's just again, going back to the three quarterbacks thing, it's hard when you got guys rotating in there and you're not getting reps with the same guy at practice over and over and over. And, those things don't just happen overnight.
Go ahead, Deion.
From a defensive perspective, like I agree with y'all completely. And for me, I always look at the wide receiver, and it kind of seems like it's not enough body control. What you're talking about, about holding that line. I remember seeing those dotted lines at practice in my first time freshman year, looking at everybody's like, why is this a wide ass hash mark over here? And they're like, no, that's the line that the receivers hold to give the quarterback room to throw that fade ball. And it just seems like those wide receivers are allowing those DBs to be physical with them in their route more than they used to. Like Blackmon back in the day, bro, big body, and you ran strong and you held that line, so it gave Weeden and Clint somewhere to throw that ball on the upfield shoulder. You just don't see that these days.
Well, I think too, like, you know, you may, when you were talking there, it kind of dawned on me, like, I used to tell Blackmon all the time, I was like, you can be as creative, you can do whatever you want to do at the line of scrimmage. If we're on the 7-yard line, I've still got to catch the ball, turn my feet, find a decent grip, and I've still got to get that ball accurate to the back pylon. If I'm on the opposite hash, you can do everything you want to do at the line of scrimmage, sell a slant, go whatever you want to do. But I feel like sometimes I watch some of and not just them. I mean, you see it on Sundays too. But some of these receivers, when the quarterback's in the shotgun, I mean, it's like one step fade. It's like, well, the quarterback's trying to hurry. That's hard to do. So that's one thing I used to tell Blackmon, and Blackmon's the absolute best at it. He would be patient, and he would use his body to kind of shield that receiver off. So he would give me an extra 2-3 feet to throw that ball toward that back pylon. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I laugh when people are like, God, the fade is the dumbest, you know, playing football. I'm like, it's not. I mean, if you run it right, you got a guy you're confident throwing it to, it's really pretty simple. And a lot of those ones we were throwing out through to Blackmon, I would say 100% of those were run plays that I picked up and threw it out there because he was one-on-one. The defense was stupid enough to guard him and cover him one-on-one down there inside the 10-yard line. But it takes a pretty good, you know, understanding what he wants to do at receiver, and then the quarterback's got to have time to get the ball out. So it takes time. It takes a lot of reps, and we repped it, I mean, all the time. So it didn't just happen, you know, by chance.
I think you guys all hit on it. In the rotating 3 quarterbacks, who knows how many reps they got, how often they work on it. Then the guys started getting hurt. So who knows how much, but it's something that I've noticed that was a staple for us. And like you said, I think most people dislike it because it's treated as a 50-50 ball. But if you have a guy like Rashaun, a guy like JB, it's like, well, I trust my guy a lot more than a college corner. You know what I mean?
You got to have that dog in you.
Hey, look, the best thing is when you throw those fade balls or those go balls, you know they're not going to get picked as long as you don't throw a terrible ball. Like they're going to go up, they're going to bat it down, they're going to play defense. You're not going to throw a pick. It's not going to be a turnover. You know, you just got to give your guy a chance. And it's if you're not getting reps with the same guys day in and day out, it's hard to do.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think we've gotten into the X's and O's enough. Before we kind of get out of here, I kind of wanted to end with one last Bedlam, you know, topic. And outside of playing, outside of being between those white lines, all of you guys grew up in Oklahoma and have a history with this game. After or before you were playing, what was your favorite memory about the game? Not with you in the game, but you being a fan and being an alumni, watching the Cowboys, you know, go against the Sooners. What was your favorite memory?
Tyreek Hill back at his own 11. This time they set up the return. Barnett sends a good one. Hill has it. Tyreek Hill with speed. Breaks through. Hill with the speed. Look out. This is Bedlam.
I'll start just so I don't forget it. I was in the backyard. We had 25, 30 people over. And, we were, I don't know, whatever, grilling out, doing whatever. And Coach Stoops, kicked it again to Tyreek for the second time. And he cribbed it. And, I took my shirt off. I'm running around the backyard. I'm yelling, going nuts in the backyard. Everybody's like, what in the world? This guy lost his mind. But that was one memory, just, you know, and then they'll show that play forever. I mean, this week they will show that play for the rest of time. And I guess not anymore, I guess, if the rivalry comes back. But that play to me is one, it was awesome. 2, it pisses me off that Tyreek didn't touch the ball 25 or 30 times a game that year. I'm like, we got this cat that literally is running circles around dudes in the NFL, and we're giving the ball we're giving the ball 6-7 times a game. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, looking back on it, that's a little bit of mismanagement on with that guy.
I think we missed on that one. Yeah. Great player. We missed on it.
Yeah, so that's got to be my memory too, man. I was actually doing radio that game, and I was in the game watching it. And we usually got to leave a little bit early. Got a little bit early to get on the radio with Jim and those guys and Al, and I'm walking back, and I'm thinking, hey, this is over. I'm thinking, well, shoot, and shoot, about that time I'm walking by a pub or something that has a game showing, and so, I watched the replay of them kicking it back to him again, and sure enough, I could watch it, and it was like a delay, and I could hear the crowd just erupt, with Oklahoma State fans, and then you see it on TV, and you're like, oh my God, what a play! And then you think to yourself, what was they thinking? What were they thinking? Kicking the ball to that guy, and sure enough, man, that's a mistake that I bet you even now he thinks about and wish he had a chance to get that one back. But hey, big time play, and it's definitely one of the better memories for me.
JB, what about you, man?
Likewise, I was in a bar in Oklahoma City, boy, downtown, talking crap to everybody. And luckily, they kicked it again, and I could keep on talking crap. So, no, it was that was just one of the one times I guess I can consistently say I sat down, watched the whole game. I know there was that one. Excuse me. I always remember this one. I don't know why. When Clint took off running down the middle of the field after we left, and he broke on that long run, stuff like that. So that
choo-choo train
in my mind. Yeah,
man, we should have had that one, and we should have the one the next year.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of moments in the series, at least for me, obviously Rashaun's catch, and then the re-punt to Tyreek. But one that I think about a lot, and it was because I was there, and it's probably the freshest. But that Brennan Presley kick return a few years back was awesome. And then the Colin Oliver sack, but that the call by Fowler, a lightning strike, like that moment, I still get chills when I see that thing come up. So those would be. I know you weren't asking me probably, but. Those would be the three
Go ahead and put your 2 cents in there, Clint.
I'm going to.
I agree. Colin Oliver too. I agree with that one.
Yeah, that Oliver.
That was a big moment. It was good to see the defense kind of have their footprints put on that game in a big way. But Clint, you got any more for these guys?
Man, I don't. I appreciate you guys all taking time out of your night to talk to us. I know the fans are going to love this one, having three legends on. So I can't say thank you enough to you guys. We really appreciate it.
Man, thanks for having me on.
Past my bedtime.
Thanks, fellas.
Well, that was Rashaun Woods, Justin Blackmon, and Brandon Weeden. We want to thank those guys so much for joining us on this episode, man. Clint, big time gets, huh?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the history of Oklahoma State, it's arguable that those three guys were the top guy or top 2 or 3 guy at their position. I think Brandon Weeden, in my opinion, is the best quarterback of all time. JB, Rashaun, top 1, 2, top 3, whatever receivers. So, very excited to have those guys on, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. With that being said, I did not want to get out of this episode and not do our guys justice by not handing out some helmet stickers before we move on to the next week. So, all right, before we move on to OU, helmet stickers real quick, Clint.
Man, after you did me dirty last week because I didn't do Ollie Gordon, and then you had to come back and give it to Ollie Gordon. I'm just gonna go Ollie, man. He's done something that hasn't been done. 250 yards, back-to-back games. Kind of thrust himself into a bunch of award conversation, including possibly the Heisman. So, offensive line, I'm gonna give you guys each one, and then Ollie Gordon because he's not doing it without those guys up front.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. And as much as I want to give Nick Martin that helmet sticker, man, for those,
That's how I felt about Leon Johnson, man, coming off the bench.
Bro, I got to give it to Big Leon, bro.
Okay.
Big Leon came out here, 11 targets, 5 receptions, 149 yards, and a touchdown, a long of 67, bro. I mean, for your first game, pressed into that spot, I mean, he did those corners dirty over there in Cincinnati, man. So I got to give it to Big Leon. And it's unfortunate that you had to burn the red shirt, bro. But, I mean, being a team player, coming out having a big night, I mean, you get rewarded over here at the Old Poke Show. So we got to give a helmet sticker to Big Leon.
Yeah, and we're going to need him. That may be something we talk about here in a second. We're going to need him moving forward after that performance. So that one is well-deserved in the rain, coming off the bench. I like that for you.
Like it. And speaking of, I mean, needing them, we might as well get into some of this OU, OSU Bedlam madness. I know we talked a lot about the history and some of the fun stuff with our guys, but let's get into a little bit of the X's and O's in this matchup right now. Clint, what are your thoughts, and what are some of the things that need to be done, and what are you looking for?
Yeah, general thoughts. This is an OU team that obviously is coming off a loss, and I think that makes them if you've watched anything that Venables has said, I think that makes them dangerous. Yeah. I think he'll have them fired up. OSU Bedlam is not a game that they will ever come out flat for. I think that's why you've seen them slip up against the Kansases, the Kansas States, the Iowa States, and not against Oklahoma State typically, is because they come prepared each and every year to play this game. What I've seen, I think Dillon Gabriel is a good player. I really do. I think he's even better than a good player. He's in the Heisman conversation. He has been, rightfully so. Yeah. He's a guy that I think this defense is going to have to do a really good job of taking away his first read. And if you do that, make him hold onto the ball, then you have a shot. You don't want to let him step up in the pocket, because he's really good working up in the pocket and then out, and he can hurt you with his legs. He's a very capable, effective runner. He runs when he has to. He runs for first downs. He does a little bit of quarterback power. So we're going to need to see that pressure coming from those big guys up the middle is what I'm thinking. They've got some, this is an OU team that I wouldn't say is just vastly more talented at skill positions than any team that they play like they usually are. And that's not to say they're bad. But I think Ollie Gordon, I think they would take him at a second at the running back position. And their guys, not that they're bad, but I mean, usually I feel like OU's the most talented team 1 through 130 that you're ever going to see. And they're probably a more talented team than us still this year. But I feel like in some key positions, that gap is closed. I think when you look at their defense, Danny Stutzman's where it starts, and he was injured in that game. Yeah, I have no idea whether he's going to play. They're a 4-down team. They'll mix it up, but I think that is something that Coach Dunn has called pretty good games against those 4-down teams. So I look for this to be a really fun game. I could see it typically turning into who wins in the trenches. That's kind of the way I look at it. Whichever offensive line establishes their will is going to be the team that wins. OU has typically always had a very, very, very talented, good offensive line. But that Kansas defensive line, got after them a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so there is some opportunity there. Their skill position guys, Gavin Freeman, Drake Stoops, good slot guys, Nick Anderson on the outside. So they've got the talent. It's just going to come down, I think, to the trenches.
Yeah, man, that one thing that you mentioned, and as far as the offense, that's really concerning for me is Dillon Gabriel and his ability to run with the football. That's something that, we struggled a little bit with West Virginia. Emory Jones from Cincinnati didn't have as much success, and it's something that we definitely cleaned up. And hopefully that trend continues, because his ability to run with the football gives OU an extra dimension that they leads to success for them. So that's something that I'm really, really concerned about. On the other side of, go ahead, Clint.
Do you think is this a Nick Martin spy game? Is that what you would do? What do you think?
That's a good that's a good point. I think
because some of those runs are like Garrett Green, like you talked about, are designed quarterback runs where you're not going to be able to. But on those obvious passing situations, are you going to spy Nick Martin on that or what?
But that's the thing, because I don't want to also take him away from being able to help in the pass protection, because that's where in that 3-3-5 defense, that's where people want to attack up the middle with those safeties, where those at, and I need those linebackers to be in those passing lanes. A couple of times you caught our linebackers early in that Cincinnati game kind of helping in the pass rush and leaving some windows wide open, and because of that they converted a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know how I want to do it. I definitely think you keep that in your back pocket. And if he's burning you too much, then you do go ahead and add that to the defense. But off the rip, I don't think that's the way I would go. I kind of want to keep those linebackers back, help with the pass protection, the passing game down the field a little bit more, and then have your eyes back there on the quarterback. But we'll see what Nardo does from that standpoint. Going back to the other side of the ball with OU, a lot of health stuff, and that kind of also leaves me concerned, because it's like who's going to play, who's going to be where, who are you preparing for? We mentioned Stutzman and him being an issue and having, I think, an ankle issue. Don't know if he's going to be healthy. I know they're one of their best defensive backs, Gentry Williams, Booker T. Washington product. I don't think he played in the Kansas game. I don't know if he's going to play in our game, but the reason I'm concerned about that is I feel like OU has the secondary to be able to get in our wide receiver's face a little bit and then load the box. And if that's the case, if they do have those guys healthy, they can do it. If they don't, do they trust their backups to do that? That's the question mark, and that's where I think the adjustments are going to come. Kind of halftime adjustments are going to be very important, just because you're going to have to adjust to what's on the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's well said. I love every point you make. My last point, I think, would be, we've seen the creativity in this offensive scheme from Coach Dunn, and I think that you have to continue more so in this game than any to be aggressive and be creative. So that would be my last point.
Yeah. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. You can't let these guys be able to look at tape and just see what they did in practice and just go after it. I can't have that. Can't have that. And you saw what those guys did versus Texas, how they came off the ball, how excited they were. It's going to be the same thing. Don't expect to see Kansas OU. Expect to see, Texas OU come into Boone Pickens Stadium. So
great point.
That being said, man, this was a long one. we went for rightfully so, man. Big game. Had a bunch of, friends and guests to join us on this one. So we want to thank Rashaun Woods. We want to thank Justin Blackmon and Brandon Weeden for joining us on this episode. Man, couldn't have done it without them. And any final words before we get out of here, Clint?
No, man, I appreciate you guys all. We appreciate you guys all listening, especially if you've made it this long with us. It's a long episode, but like Deion said, we had some special guests on for you guys. So as always, we appreciate it. And thank you.
Yeah. So remember, guys, like I say, every week, OSU Max has all your information and whatever you need to kind of stay informed and get ready for this Bedlam matchup that's going to be on Saturday. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be the last one, but hopefully the Cowboys come out with a W. With that being said, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Deion Imade, and always remember, stay loyal and true.
Go Pokes.